All right, so today we're going to do the notes on page 24, geometric series. So make sure you have that open in your packet. Also have your numWorks calculator out. All right, we're going to continue talking about a geometric set of pattern, and we're going to talk about a series today. So remember, a series is the sum of those geometric sequence terms. So it would be something like 2 plus 6 plus 18 plus ... and so forth. So instead of commas in between the numbers, we're adding them. Remember, this is also where we would use a sigma at times. Now, for a geometric series, we actually get this formula on our reference sheet, so you don't have to use sigma. And if you look at that, it's the back of your packet. This is the formula that they give us, S sub n. S is for sum. And then we know the other parts, right? A sub 1 is the first term, minus A sub 1 times R, which is that common ratio, to the n over 1 minus R, n being the number of terms. So if we want to use this and we're finding the sum of our geometric sequence, we're going to use our formula. They gave us all the pieces. So S sub 10, that means we're adding the first 10 terms. First term is 2. Common ratio is 3. We're adding 10 terms. All right, let's put this in our calculator. All right, we get 59,048. You should expect these numbers to get really large because you're now dealing with a geometric sequence. So we're multiplying to get each term. And then if we're adding up a lot of big numbers usually. All right, find the sum. So again, first 8 terms, that means n is 8. So let's see, we got our first term. That's 3. We need to figure out our common ratio. So that's negative 12 divided by 3, or negative 4. All right, so let's put this in our calculator now. Make sure you're using parentheses around that R value. Those negatives will get in the way. All right, we get negative 39,321. Feel free to pause this at any time. If I'm working ahead too fast, okay, so pause it and do what you need to. All right, this next one's a little tricky. So find the sum of a geometric series. So we know our formula. All right, so let's see what we have here. That's just our formula from our reference sheet. So we have our first term. We know our common ratio. All right, now we know the nth term. We don't know n, so that means we need to figure out n. So this is a geometric, so that means we're going to have to go back to our geometric formula. So we know the nth term is 125. We know our first term was 2,000. R is 1/2. Okay, so now there's a couple ways that we can do this. What we can do is if we want to figure out what n this is, you could plug this into your calculator into the graphing. Oh, you know what? All right, not in the graphing. What you can actually do is take this whole thing, put this in the calculator in the equation solver, because we need to know what n is. So if we go to equations, put your equation in. So I already typed it in, so hit pause and then type that in your calculator. All right, so that's the equation we have there. If we let it solve it, it'll tell us it's 5. So n is 5, so that means over here, 5 is that exponent, and now we can calculate this quantity. You just got to be really careful as you're putting it all in to the calculator, especially when you start throwing fractions in there. All right, and I got 3,875. All right, little word problem here. Okay, again, a little tricky. Make sure you're paying attention to these because you will see these. So Paisley started running plan where she runs 8 miles in the first week. That's going to be our first term. Then increases the number of miles by 5%. When we increase by a percentage, that means we're going to do 1 plus that percent as a decimal. So R is really going to be 1.05. You did exponentials last year, and this is where that comes from. When you increase by a percentage, you have to do 1 plus, and if it was decreasing, you would do 1 minus. If she keeps this plan up for 18 weeks, that'll be our N. How many total? Remember, total means a sum, which means a series. So we can use our formula. Does she run? So S sub 18, first minus first, times R to the N, which is 18, and then 1 minus R. All right, it does say we're going to have to round to the nearest whole number, so let's put this in. All right, and I get 225.05, so if we round that, 225 miles. All right, and then one last one here. A major fishing company does its fishing in a local lake. The first year of the company's operations, it catches, so that's going to be our first term, 132,000. Due to population decreases, the number of fish was able to catch was decreased by 5%. So now we're going to do 1 minus 0.05, so that would be 0.95. How many total? So total is the sum or series. Did the company catch in the first 20 years? That's our N. Okay, so using our formula. Oof, the numbers are big. Running out of room there. All right, and again, we're rounding to the nearest whole number for ourselves. So let's calculate. Oh, I put an extra decimal in. There we go. All right, so 1,693,597,000. There we go. All right, you've got a delta assignment to do for your homework. You can do it on the next page in that blank space, and I will see you tomorrow.